One of the clues might be Al Gore getting in so quickly.
The global warming propaganda machine is littered with vested interests coming in from all over the place. You look at Rajendra Pachauri, who heads the UN IPCC, who probably, by the time you're seeing this, he may even be gone because his reputation is hanging by a thread now. But he has been promoting the false idea that the Himalayan glaciers were melting rapidly, and the UN IPCC contained that information, which turned out to be factually untrue. And not peer-reviewed science, despite what they boasted to the world's governments and so forth. But Pachauri has been using that claim to win millions of dollars worth of research grants for his institute, for his private institute. So he's been financially benefiting, or his institute's been financially benefiting from the false claims that his IPCC organisation has made. So again, you see this direct relationship between the dollar and the statements being made. This is a con from A to Z. It really is.
So the short-term gain is the research funds. The long-term gain is the tax system that they will introduce.
Yeah, well, this is why the UN's involved. The UN has constantly, over the last 30 years, made the point that there needs to be some sort of new world order, new world governance system set up, and the UN as the only global planetary authority, as they call themselves, is ideally placed to sort of deal with that. And they have not made too much of a secret. I published some of their documents in Aircon where they've actually specifically said there needs to be this new world government and we need to head it. What you see with climate change is the UN has come rapidly in behind the whole climate change, global warming thing. They've set up the infrastructure to control it. They've set up the infrastructure to set up the new tax system to benefit from it. They want to be the new world government because their budget at the moment is measured in billions. It's only 10 or 15 billion US dollars. But under this proposed climate tax scheme, they could see a budget eventually of over $1 trillion US a year, which would give them enormous power across the planet. It really would. And power to control the laws of every single country. So you can imagine the people like Ban Ki-moon and Helen Clark and so forth, as bureaucrats, it is their absolutely dream agenda. And again, they do it because they think they're doing the right thing, but in reality they're taking away power and democracy from every other citizen in the world and becoming almost a dictatorship that says, a benevolent dictatorship. We know best and you'll do it our way or you won't do it at all.
Have they been stopped in time? Was Copenhagen the death knell of this movement?
Some of my fellow skeptics are celebrating, I think, prematurely. This entity is a hydra. Every time you chop off a head, another 3 or 4 grow up out of that spot. The people behind this particular scheme have been planning this for a long time, in the form of decades, if you track back through the documents. They're not going to give up just because they had a hurdle at ClimateGate or at Copenhagen or with the UN IPCC suddenly losing its credibility now. They will find new ways to scare the public and herd them like sheep in behind their overall agenda. It might just take them a little bit longer, but do not be fooled into thinking that somehow we've driven a stake through the heart of the beast. This beast doesn't die.
Now, you've warned everybody. You've warned them in Aircon. So it's imperative that you get this book and understand what is happening. And you've done a marvellous job. Perfect timing though, wasn't it?
It was. It was, ideally timed. I mean, I started writing it, I guess, in late December last year.
That was
2008.
Yeah, 2008.
And the book was essentially written by April 2009 and published at the end of April 2009 and went on to become a worldwide bestseller. So the time was right. And
it coincided with that revelation at East Anglia, the research centre, about the doctored figures.
Yeah, well,
when you heard that, you must have thought, wow.
Well, I was, blowing my own trumpet. I was the first journalist in the world to actually verify the story. What happened was, of course, that the news had leaked out that the emails had been leaked from the University of East Anglia. But no one had bothered from the mainstream media to actually put a call into these people and say, is this for real? So I waited up until 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night here, the day the story broke, and I direct dialed the number of Phil Jones at the CRU in East Anglia. And he had just literally walked in his office 5 minutes earlier. It was 8 a.m. in the morning in Britain. And I was able to regale him with what had happened overnight and ask him his thoughts, and he confirmed that he'd known that the emails had been leaked 3 days earlier and that the emails were genuine. And once we published that, it just went ape right around the world. Every news site picked up on Investigate magazine saying that the emails were real and our interview and so forth. And the story just gained legs and took off.
Now, if somebody is listening to us, having a chat about aircon, and I need that book, where can, of course it's available in every
major bookshop, yeah. Whitcoulls, Borders, Dymocks, Paper Plus, Take Note, the independent stores, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Ian, I could talk for another 2 hours on this subject. It's fascinating, and you've got so much wonderful information, but it's a television show with a time limit, so
Yes.
I'm reluctantly going to have to say, Ian, thank you very much. Been wonderful.
Yeah, almighty, but the beat goes on, obviously.
Thanks, Ian.